If you also want to know the story behind another of our favorite electronic games, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy this little tribute. Air Buster, also known as Aero Blasters in Japan, is a classic side-scrolling shoot 'em up arcade game released in 1990. Developed by Kaneko and published by Namco for the TurboGrafx-16 version. The game is part of a popular genre from that era, where players control a spacecraft to fight through waves of enemies and powerful bosses while moving horizontally across the screen. The story of Air Buster. The storyline of Air Buster is fairly straightforward, much like many games of its time. Players take on the role of elite fighter pilots tasked with saving the Earth from an alien invasion. You pilot a futuristic aircraft equipped with powerful weapons, flying through various dangerous environments as you face off against increasingly difficult enemy forces. The mission is to destroy the alien invaders and their machines, stopping them before they can conquer Earth. Throughout the game, players encounter massive enemies, including dangerous bosses at the end of each stage, requiring skillful flying and shooting to defeat them. The narrative may not be complex, but it provides a backdrop for the fast-paced, action-packed gameplay that defined arcade shooters in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Gameplay and features. Air Buster is a side-scrolling shooter, where the player controls a fighter jet that moves across the screen, shooting enemies, avoiding obstacles, and collecting power-ups. The goal is to survive waves of enemies while progressing through multiple stages that gradually increase in difficulty. The game features 6 stages, each with its own unique environments, including futuristic cities, outer space, and underground bases. The variety of enemies and environmental hazards, such as moving barriers and enemy fire, keep the gameplay engaging and challenging. One of the standout features of Air Buster is its cooperative 2-player mode. This allows 2 players to team up, each controlling their own aircraft, and fight the enemy forces together. The cooperative gameplay was a big draw for arcade players who enjoyed teaming up with friends to take on tough challenges. During the game, players can collect various power-ups that enhance their weapons, making their ship more powerful. These power-ups allow players to shoot in different directions or fire more powerful missiles and lasers. The game also includes speed boosts, shields, and extra lives to help players survive longer in the increasingly difficult stages. The controls are simple and responsive, with the player having full control over their aircraft's movements while shooting. This allows for a lot of maneuverability as players dodge enemy fire and weave through obstacles. The challenge comes from mastering the timing and placement of attacks, as well as learning enemy patterns to avoid taking damage. Graphics and sound. For its time, Air Buster was praised for its bright, colorful graphics and smooth animations. The detailed backgrounds and varied environments gave each stage its own distinct feel, and the design of the enemy ships and bosses was creative, adding to the game's overall appeal. The fast-paced action and the number of enemies on screen at once pushed the hardware, but the game maintained smooth performance, which was key to keeping the gameplay enjoyable. The sound design was another highlight, featuring energetic background music that complemented the action. The sound effects of explosions, gunfire, and power-ups helped enhance the overall experience, making the game feel intense and immersive. Release and popularity. Air Buster was first released in Japanese arcades in 1990 by Kaneko. It quickly gained attention for its engaging gameplay and cooperative mode. Due to its success in the arcades, the game was soon ported to home consoles, allowing players to experience the game outside of the arcade setting. In 1991, Air Buster was released on the Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, and the TurboGrafx-16, also known as the PC Engine in Japan. The Genesis and TurboGrafx-16 versions had some slight differences in terms of graphics and sound due to the capabilities of each console, but overall they captured the core gameplay of the arcade version. The Sega Genesis version was particularly popular in North America and Europe, where the console had a large fan base. On the TurboGrafx-16, the game was also well received, especially in Japan, where the console had a more significant market presence. The home versions kept the cooperative mode, which continued to be a major selling point for players looking for a fun, challenging shooter to play with a friend. While Air Buster was not a groundbreaking or revolutionary game, it found a solid place among the many shoot 'em ups of the time. Its fast action, fun 2-player mode, and vibrant design made it a memorable title for fans of the genre. Over time, It gained a reputation as a classic arcade shooter, and it remains a favorite among retro gamers who enjoy the challenge of mastering its difficult stages. Legacy. Though Air Buster didn't spawn sequels or become a long-running franchise, it still holds a special place in the history of arcade and home console shooters. It's remembered fondly by players who enjoyed its intense gameplay and cooperative experience, and it stands as an example of the golden age of side-scrolling shoot 'em ups. Over the years, the game has appeared in various collections and has been emulated on different platforms, keeping it accessible to newer generations of gamers who are interested in exploring classic arcade games. The game's mechanics and design have influenced later shooters, especially those that focus on cooperative play and fast-paced action. Conclusion. Air Buster is a classic arcade shooter from 1990 that remains beloved by fans of the genre. With its straightforward story of saving the Earth from alien invaders, the game focused on delivering exciting and challenging gameplay, complete with smooth controls and vibrant graphics. The two-player cooperative mode was a standout feature, allowing friends to team up and face the challenges together. Its success in the arcade led to home console versions, where it continued to build a fan base. Although it didn't become a long-running series, Air Buster remains a notable part of gaming history, especially for those who enjoy shoot 'em ups. Today, it is remembered as a well-designed game that represents the fast-paced, high-action experience that arcade shooters were known for during their peak years. If you liked the video, subscribe, like, and write to me in the comments, what do you want to be the next arcade game that we will learn the story of? Until next time, be well.